all the games I used to play in my younger, wilder days. The game of clubs and tees had never crossed my mind. But after some discussion with my closest, dearest friends.
Welcome into another episode of the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast. My name is Andrew Putters. As always, I'm with my partner in crime, JoeNicely. Special guest for a special show. The one and only NagelsBagels joins us from up north, headed west in the morning. So happy to steal a few moments of his time. Maybe we can, maybe we have some good banter between the three of us. Also, I'm just happy to be a part of the biggest bromance in fantasy golf right here with these two guys. I know they've went back and forth on Twitter for years. Happy to get them together on this show, the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast. Probably our fault he hasn't been on already. So, Joe, Nagels, how we doing, guys?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Great to be here. Thank you very much.
Joe?
U.S. Open going. Got my boy Bagels here. You're here. We're headed to Torrey Pines, ready to roll, man. I'm pumped for this one.
Absolutely, absolutely. Rotoballer.com, as always, has special announcements. Added a man onto the team this week. Joe, you want to hit on that just for a second?
Yeah, man, really quick. Brought in Andy Lack. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to check out his podcast, Pick the Pup, but he does a great course preview, does a great betting picks pod. So we hope you'll check out Andy at Pick the Pup. He's doing a tournament preview article for us over at Rotoballer right now. We've also got our regular great content. Spencer Aguiar is breaking down the Vegas report. Josh Bennett does a hole-by-hole course breakdown. You can get my Core 4. Go to rotoballer.com, sign up right now for our PGA Premium Package. Use promo code NICE, N-I-C-E, and you'll get a discount.
So, yeah, rotoballer.com, best place in the world for your daily fantasy needs. So, real quick, guys, before we get into the highlight of the week, Torrey Pines, and all the banter, real quick, Palmetto, Congaree. I mean, I'll tell you how much I did not pay attention to this golf tournament. I don't even know the guy's name that won. Yeah, I know he was. Is this his first event?
Second event.
Second. Yeah,
Garrick Higo. How do you pronounce that, guys?
Higo.
Yeah. Young guy, 22-year-old from South Africa. Gets his PGA card in his second event. Obviously, he's pretty good. I didn't watch a second of it on purpose, so. After Thursday's abysmal round and my team's going down the tube, I didn't watch anything. So if you guys watched it all, speak up. If not, we'll go straight on. I know Joe was hitting the Netflix up.
Yeah, I didn't watch much, man. I didn't watch much, which is kind of a shame because I think it's a really cool golf course. Hopefully they can figure something out with making it a permanent part of the schedule, but you just weren't going to get a turnout, man, for a kind of a one-off event the week before the U.S. Open. So it's pretty unfortunate, but a really exciting winner in Garrick Higo, Andrew. We'd actually touched on him the week of the PGA Championship show. He's won 3 times over in Europe. He's won twice over there in the past, I think about 6 weeks. So the kid's truly an amazing talent, and it's really cool that he's going to, be able to play on the PGA Tour kind of any way he wants to. So because he's got a 2-year exemption now. So kind of a bummer event, but a really cool golf course and a really cool winner. Really excited to see him going forward.
Yeah, Andrew, I wouldn't beat yourself up too much about not knowing that guy's name. There's actually a couple of names that have been popping up. You got this Guido guy that people are talking about. You had Wilco, and you had the guy that won yesterday. So between the three of them, it's hard to keep track of all these new names. I did watch a little bit. I put a late live bet in on Jonathan Vegas. So I was keeping an eye on things on the back nine, but naturally he bogeyed 17 and took himself right out of it. So that's the way that goes. So yeah, I'm ready to move on whenever you are.
Absolutely. So this is before we even started recording, I let the guys know this is probably my favorite golf course I've ever played. We vacationed there a few years back, and played the South course on that trip. We're not going to go out there and not play it, obviously. La Jolla is a beautiful area. Nagels, you know more about that area than both of us combined. So let's just hit on the area first, man. It's just a cool place. 85 degrees all the time.
Yeah, California is great. San Diego's even better. My brother's been living out there for 10 years or so, and I've been out there maybe 3 times already. And I'm heading out there tomorrow. And it's just different when you walk out of the airport and you just in the sun, and it's not hot, but it's cool, but the sun's out and you're not used to it. It's just a different vibe. Yeah, San Diego's good. I'm looking forward to my California burrito when I get out there. And yeah, my brother was just texting me before saying how he's been hearing people kind of bad mouthing Torrey, how it's really not that great of a golf course. But yeah, it's his favorite golf course too, and he played there all the time. And I played it when I went a couple of years ago, and it's just beautiful, man. That's what life is all about. Just being out there, nice and relaxed. I love California.
Yeah, great Mexican food in San Diego, the most underrated Mexican food capital of America, San Diego.
Taco Tuesday.
That's right. Yeah, so Torrey Pines, like you said, South Course, it's in La Jolla, California at Torrey Pines State Park. Yardage setup is 7,600, probably going to be playing closer to 7,800 this week. Poana greens, Bermuda, Kakua grass throughout. It's going to be different grasses around the greens. You're going to see some Kakua grass overseed along with ryegrass. They were talking about that today on the Golf Channel I was watching, and the guys were putting and chipping from just off the green to all different spots because they just really are unsure how the grass is going to lay. This is unseasonal times for this tournament. Obviously, they usually play it in February. We're going to get cooler air and more fog than normal. Obviously, they're only playing the South Course this week, not the North Course. So naturally, that's going to bring the scores down. One cool thing about this course, it is a state park. It is open to the public. If you're a San Diego citizen or resident, you get a highly discounted rate. Gets about 70,000 rounds per year. The real question I have is, are you going to be on the hang gliders over there? Are you going to be jumping off the side of the mountain and flying around? Or are you just going to be watching golf?
Oh, hell no. You would not catch me doing that. I'm not a adventure seeker or adrenaline junkie or whatever you call it. I specialize in DFS golf. That's about as exciting as it gets for me. So no, I won't be jumping out of any planes. That's not for me.
Joe, I don't know if you got a chance to look over or not. And is there going to be any major differences other than it maybe being a few hundred yards longer and obviously the rough being up as far as February? And is there any major differences between now and 2008 whenever Tiger beat Rocco in the playoff?
Well, Tiger ain't going to be there, unfortunately. So that's a kind of a bummer, a difference. But to answer your question as far as how it's going to play versus the Farmers, obviously it's the same golf course, Andrew. It is going to play the par 71 this week. So it's the same golf course we see for the Farmers, but just kind of juiced up a little bit. The USGA is going to put this thing on steroids. You mentioned the Kikuyu grass. They've got that grown out. The fairways are going to be fairly tight. They're kind of similar to Winged Foot last year, a little bit wider than that. Average of about 30 yards in width, with just gnarly rough, man, and these POA greens that can give guys fits. So we can expect difficult conditions. I think scoring will be tough. The USGA takes pride in kind of putting forth the toughest test in golf. So, I think they'll try their best to live up to that reputation this year. So it's going to be Torrey, but on steroids is what we're looking at this week.
What hole are they going to turn into a par 4? Do y'all know that?
I think the 6th. I think it's the 6th. It's going to make it a really long hole. It's going to be real firm and real fast, and that's going to make the difference. Might be hard to keep the ball in the fairway, and the rough is going to be really hard to get the ball on the green from the rough. I'm not sure. I still don't know if it's going to play rough wise, fairway width wise, like Winged Foot did last year. That might change some things in terms of my assessment of players. I'm still going to find out about that, but yeah, it's going to be hard. I don't know if looking at Farmers course history, I don't know if that would be the first thing that I look at, to be honest, but that's just me.
Yeah. For me, I'm only going to be looking a little bit of the Farmers history just to see kind of like, are we going to see some of the names that we already like or dislike, or maybe just to eliminate some people, as I'm thinking, seems like to me, and this is just back in my mind, didn't they bring up like on maybe like Sunday, like make 14 or something like 360 yards and it was firm and fast where you could maybe get a go at it or not? Does that seem like it ring a bell at all? Like they had a par 4 on the back 9 where they brought the tees up.
I read about that, and they're not going to have that this year. That's not going to be. They're not going to have a drivable par 4.
Yeah, that's kind
So that might be what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, I guess let's just get right into the DraftKings guys. The big name that everybody's talking about this week, Jon Rahm, passed 2 tests, ready to go. No love lost on this podcast for Jon Rahm by any of these 3 people. And I cannot find in the right mind a reason that I want to put this guy in the lineup. I'm sorry. I know he has great course history here. I know now we got this. We have the superintendent at Torrey is the former superintendent from Jack's course. I know that could just be a coincidence, but it seems like he's been there a couple times here. I think he's won here twice. Is that right? And coming second once. So I cannot find myself in the right mind to ever put him in a lineup, guys.
Joe, you want to go first, or you want me to go?
Sir, we got Jon Rahm at the top of the salary scale. We got you on our podcast. Please go first. Please go first.
What if I told you, Andrew, that he got engaged at this golf course? Would that help change your mind? Does that mean anything to you? What about being a newfound dad and this tournament ending on Father's Day? Does that do anything for you? What about the screw job that he got at Memorial, and now he's out and he's fired up and he really wants to win this? Does that do anything for you? Any of those things change your mind?
Vince McMahon is not running this tournament or this podcast. Okay. And this isn't the WWE. So we ain't looking for feel good stories. We're looking for W's. And I just can't find myself putting him. I don't know. Hate to say that. He's got a lot of talent. He's young. Can't do it.
Okay. No, I make that argument for different reasons. But it scares me that you don't think there's golf reasons to want to roster him at the top of the board here.
There's definitely statistical reasons. Yeah. I mean, and taking all those feel goods, those storylines out of it. He's got great course history at Torrey Pines. Number 1, number 2, he is a bulldog. And like I said, also the superintendent tie-in maybe on the course setup, maybe possible. I don't know. But is he that much better than a Jordan Spieth or a DJ? Is he?
No, I wouldn't. So much better. No, $1,000 more than Brooks Koepka. No, I don't. I agree with that. I think that is a sound assessment of the top of the board. For me, it's personal. I can't. I'm going out there, and I planned this trip years ago, and there's only one person that can win this tournament that could ruin this trip for me. And if it happens to be Jon Rahm, then, well, that would just suck. But from a golf perspective, I mean, it's not like he's not long enough off the tee, or that he's not good enough around the greens, or that he won't be able to handle tough conditions. And all those storylines, fit. And I don't know. It's terrifying to me. I'm afraid that he could do it. It doesn't seem like enough people are picking him. Maybe because he's at the top of the board and he's got the lowest odds and people like value. That might be the reason why. But God damn it. If Xander and Rahm were switched, then everybody would be picking Rahm and I wouldn't have anything to worry about. But now Xander's all the way down there in the 9s and everybody's picking him. It freaking sucks, man. So I don't know. I'm not really saying anything impressive here, but I'm scared that he would perform well. But in that range, I like Brooksy the best.
I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something before you add in, Joe. Something even scarier to me is, Rory just won a month ago. He plays this golf course too good. Also, he's $1,300 cheaper. I mean, Brooks obviously last week was go ahead and looking forward to this week. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Plus, he just got done being at, he wanted to go to the Logan Paul fight at the same time. So Logan Paul versus Money Mayweather fight, he got spotted down there partying it up. I think Brooks was ready to come to this tournament. Not really sold that he's 100% yet. I'll be honest, guys. I'm not sold on any of this leaderboard until we get to Morikawa. But that's my bit. Joe, fire away, bud.
I love it, man. I love it. I love the John Rahm thoughts. I know Bagels is just kind of warming up for Wednesday night when the true Rahm thoughts are going to come flying. But we're going to light the grill a little bit tonight and let him really cook on Wednesday night. But Rahm's a strong play, guys. When we take all the kind of the narrative stuff out of it, Rahm's a very strong play, as Andrew mentioned. Great course history here at Torrey, former winner here. Bagels, as you mentioned, he's excellent off the tee. Really solid short game, and kind of one of the most underrated aspects of his game, especially when it comes to this week, is his ability on POA greens. He's third in this field in strokes gained putting on POA, first in 3-putt avoidance on POA. So I think Rahm's an excellent play. What I'm really more concerned about than kind of the narrative stuff, or even really the quarantine stuff, is going to be his ownership. That's something I'm going to keep an eye on as kind of the week progresses. I know you said you didn't feel like he's super popular, Bagels, but he's actually projected to be fairly popular this week. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that more really than anything. As you guys mentioned, the top of the board is very, very strong. You're really not going super wrong anywhere up here. DJ showed a little bit of form last week, even though this year has been questionable at best for him. Jordan Spieth, we know he's rounding into form. We know that he can make miracles happen in these major championship environments. And then Bryson and Brooks, the guys that hate each other, they're both excellent plays this week, in my opinion. Both very, very long off the tee. Both very good in major championships. Obviously, Bryson won last year's U.S. Open at Wingfoot. Brooks is a 2-time U.S. Open winner. And I think these guys will come to play this week. Really, guys, if we want to draw some comparisons to Wingfoot, we're on different coasts here. But if you look back at, the recent list of U.S. Open winners, I think Bryson DeChambeau kind of did the right thing. I think length is a huge advantage in this golf tournament. The USGA kind of wants to make this tough. They want the rough to be penal. They want the narrow fairways to be narrow. But I think it plays right into the hands of these long guys. If everybody's missing fairways, guys, I want the guy that's going to be closest to the hole. If everybody's in the rough, give me Bryson, give me Brooks, give me John Rahm, give me these bombers. So that's kind of an angle I'm taking, more so than on a normal week where, I'm willing to put a kind of a back seat on distance. I'm really bumping it up this week.
Yeah. Andrew, if you're not going to start your lineup until Morikawa, you're leaving like 6 enormous bullets unused. I think that's a very dangerous game you might be playing, because there's a lot of firepower above Morikawa. And just remember, Joe, when Bryson won at Wingfoot, there was one guy that wasn't in that field, and that was Brooks Koepka. So I think the road to a U.S. Open title this year goes through him. He's only been beaten by one guy in his last 3 U.S. Opens, and I don't know. I think that, as much as I'm going to be rooting for somebody else,
does that little rivalry play any part in this week?
I think it might for Bryson. I don't think it will for Brooks.
Right. You think maybe there's some impact that some of the fans start calling him Brooksy? I mean, do you think that's going to,
I think it's already in his head. I already think it's in Bryson's head. And I just think Brooks is mentally tougher than Bryson is. At least that's the perception I get. And I don't think I don't think Bryson wants any part of that matchup going into the weekend. If they're both up there or anything like that, that would be awesome. But we'll see. I'm really looking. It's going to be great. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, really fun. And guys, the one name I don't think any of us have mentioned is Justin Thomas, the guy who won the Players and kind of coming into this year was, projected to be the top player in the world, and at times has looked that way. So any thoughts on JT there?
I'm a big JT fan. he's got the most aggressive game on tour, I think, overall, and that does well for him in a lot of tournaments. However, something I've been reading about here today is that he has some kind of issues with when he gets in these tournaments and he needs to do multiple things with his driver. Any golf course that's going to force him to do multiple things with his driver other than grip it and rip it. And what I mean is move the ball each way. Most important statistic for me this week, guys, is strokes gained off the tee. I will be making everything will go through that statistic for me. Kind of harping already what you said, Joe. And unfortunately, I just for some reason, and I'm a field player in DFS, and I'm not feeling the JT, and literally nobody's talking about him. He's number 2 player in the world, which is scary. But that's just my thoughts on that. For me, guys, if you listen to me ever, I'm always looking for reasons to not pay people, and that's a reason for me not to play him is the driver issue. Just here, strokes gained off the tee is going to be the most important statistic to go through, in my opinion, and he's not going to cut it for me this week.
Yeah, well, I think JT's problem the last month or so has been the putter, but I just never. I love Justin Thomas. I don't want to make it sound like I'm talking bad about him, but U.S. Open setup, I don't know if that's going to be a good match. I don't know if Justin Thomas will ever win a U.S. Open. If the conditions are really tough, if there's ever wind or anything like that, and the way if he is a little wayward with his drive, and he's playing out of the rough, that could be that. That's I think he can get blown out to sea relatively. And we've seen him get unhinged in the last couple of majors too, when things start going bad. So I'm not like you, Andrew. Yeah, I'm just not feeling Justin Thomas as much as I like him. Maybe not this week. Maybe a nice, softer PGA Tour setup you would like. But that's me.
I kind of agree, Bagels. I think JT's obviously a great player, but he's kind of the definition, kind of the prototype modern, if you want to use that word, PGA Tour player. Like when conditions are perfect, the golf course is perfect, weather's perfect, when everything's perfect, JT can go out there and light it up. But you throw a little wind in there, you throw some trials and tribulations his way throughout the course of the tournament. Maybe he's not going to hang in there like a Brooks would, or like a DJ can. So yeah, man. I mean, I think he's super talented. I just don't know that this is the greatest fit for him this week. Andrew, I know you said you like Morikawa. I always like him too. Obviously, the best iron player on the PGA Tour. First in this field in strokes gained approach. First in ball striking, proximity, you name it. He's an obviously great iron player. Can putt on POA. That's always the concern with Morikawa is the putter in the short game. But he proved last year at TPC Harding Park that he can putt on POA. Just kind of needs to get that going. And I feel like he's going to be right there in the mix if he putts well. But that's a big ask for him. It's something that he definitely struggles with. Not the longest guy, but is a good overall driver of the ball. And then Bagels, you want to take this next guy on the board?
Yeah. This guy, Xander Shashafali, I think is how you pronounce it.
my horse this week, by the way, buddy.
I saw that. I told you, I don't know how I felt about that, but
I apologize.
It's all right. It's okay. If anybody doesn't know, I'm an enormous Xander Schauffele fan. I'm going to be playing Xander. I haven't really been playing him much this year. Maybe that's why I'm having a terrible season. You
really haven't been playing him much this year.
No, I haven't. I've been trying to leave him alone. So, because I feel like I put a hex on him. And so I'm trying to keep that Nagel stink off of him. It's a total hard play for me. I'm going out there. I'm going to be there. It's, obviously it's his hometown event and everything else. And I'm convincing myself that these last 2.5 years where he hasn't won a tournament has all been a build up for this moment when we're there together. I don't know. I might be reaching. I'm trying to make the stars aligned. There's a whole thing going on with my grandmother, and I'm going to talk about that more on Wednesday night, I promise. But I think it's time, guys. I do. I think it's time. I can't stand the fact that everybody's picking him. I thought maybe missing the cut at the PGA would get people off his back a little bit, because when he missed the cut at the Players, everybody was kind of off him at the Masters, and we all know how that turned out. He was in the mix when nobody was picking him, and now everybody's picking him. But you can't argue with his record in the U.S. Open, 4 straight top 6s. Nobody's done that since Bobby freaking Jones. So you'd be an idiot to fade Xander this week, but we're all idiots and everybody's playing them. So I have a bad feeling about that. This could go either way. This could be either epic or it could be an epic disaster. I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to find out. So the destiny of the results of this tournament kind of is going to play out, is going to determine how the rest of my year goes. I think it's either going to be a great year and things are going great, or I'm just perpetually up against it all the time. I can't have nice things. We're going to find out.
Give me your thoughts, Bagel. I don't think he was ever not going to be not popular this week. Just the U.S. Open track record's too good. Obviously the ties to Torrey, and he's shown a lot of form, even though he missed the cut at the PGA. But tell me your thoughts, which I don't want to jump on your toes as far as anything you're covering Wednesday night. But give me your thoughts on the course history. He grew up playing here at Torrey. Hometown kid, played his high school golf here. Very familiar with the golf course. So on paper, everything should fit perfectly. But up until a runner up this year, it really hadn't been there for him. What are your thoughts on that?
All right. Well, the first 2 starts of his career, one was as a Korn Ferry Tour rookie as a sponsor exemption. It was his like 4th or 5th career start as a pro. Then he missed the cut. And then when he went the following year, I wrote this down earlier. I don't know if I still have. The first year he played it, he was ranked 1,719th in the world when he missed the cut in 2016 on a sponsored exemption. In 2017, he was a rookie. He had just gotten his tour card. He was ranked 301st in the world, missed the cut. That's not exactly the Xander Schauffele that we know. 2018, he missed the cut. He was ranked 25th in the world. He missed the cut on the number. So it's not like he was horrendous there. He missed the cut by a shot. 2019, T25. That was respectable. He had already won a couple of times on tour. That was finally made a cut. That was his goal that year. 2020, missed the cut on the number again. Missed a 5-foot putt on the north course on 17, a par 3. He knocked it stiff from like 235 and then missed a 5-foot putt. And he missed the cut on the number. So 2 starts as basically a rookie when he was a nobody, and 2 starts he missed the cut on the number. So those 4 missed cuts? It's very misleading. And he's got a 2nd and a 25th. So I never bought into he doesn't like the golf course or it doesn't fit him. That's all nonsense. He just missed the cut on the number twice. It happens. I'm not throwing anything out because of that, or I never did. So
right.
That's my thoughts on his course history.
Yeah, I knew there were some things there I'd heard you touch on in the past, so I'm glad you kind of dove into that. And congrats, man! You just raised his ownership. Everybody listen to this podcast.
Hey,
that's what I'm here for.
Hey, you ready for me to boil some water on this topic? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So I'm gonna say something highly controversial here on this subject. You know, DFS, we're looking for winnability. Not saying he doesn't have win equity, but there's an argument to be made statistically that you should play Phil Mickelson over Xander Schauffele in this tournament. Totally different price point, totally different. Guy just won the PGA Championship. He's won 3 times on this golf course. He loves this golf course. Grew up playing here as a native. Now, obviously, Phil has not done anything. He has not done anything successfully in the regular tour event since the remodel. However, I think that's an interesting conversation to have. Phil Mickelson, 50 years old. There's another feel-good story, local guy, San Diego Padres owner, Phil Mickelson. Could he go back-to-back in major?
Come on. Is that a serious question?
Hey, I mean, we're talking about winnability here. I mean, just
those three wins he had was all before the renovation that they had, and ever since then, he hasn't. His finishes here haven't been great.
Yeah.
Come on. Phil's. You can play both of them. I mean, Phil's 7,700. I mean, I don't know why you don't think you could play both. You throw Charlie Hoffman in there and just build an all San Diego team. Why not?
Andrew's got a rule. He only plays one San Diego guy per lineup.
Yeah.
Oh, so I didn't know there was a cap on that. Yeah.
It comes down to you can only pick one or the other.
In all seriousness, guys, you know, as strong and stout as what we would call captains or the A players are, JT up. You look at Morikawa down over the next 10, equally as strong. Not necessarily. I'm not talking about A player or you know, world number one, but you look at these guys from 95 to 84. I mean, pick your poison. They're all studs. You know, maybe Webb Simpson don't fit in. You know, I don't know if Berger's ever had any success on this course, but Zalatoris has had success at a young age. We know Scheffler's got some game. Finau's had great success on this tournament. Patrick Reed somehow won by 5 shots this past year after he cheated. Cantlay, this golf course really sits up perfect for him. Hovland, Xander, Morikawa, all those guys are studs in reality. Are we playing 2 guys from one guy from the A group and one guy from the B group? Is that kind of how we got to be looking at lineups? Or are we trying to throw 3 guys from the B group in here? What are we looking at this week?
Yeah,
Joe, you go first.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an option, Andrew. And like you mentioned, I think there's some really heavy hitters, and we might be talking about the winner in this range. You know, when you talk about Morikawa down to you know, a low 8 guy. And you talked about skipping the top up the top, and I know Bagels didn't sound too crazy about that idea, but you know, I think if you do want to go that route, it's to try to maybe squeeze 3 of these guys in from this range. Everybody was on Victor Hovland leading up to the PGA, super popular. Everybody was betting him. Ownership was up there, and he kind of had one great round and kind of fizzled out, but it doesn't feel like he's getting that kind of steam this week. But I'm very comfortable going right back to Victor. He's played extremely well in just 2 U.S. Open starts, one of them as an amateur. I think he's got 2 top 13s and 2 U.S. Open starts. We know that he can handle tough golf courses. Had a runner up here back in February at the Farmers. So, you know, if you're looking at pivoting off a very popular Xander Schauffele, you might want to consider Victor Hovland there. Same can be said for Cantlay. Had an uneven year, but certainly finding his form with a controversial win at the Memorial. Still played well there. So, you know, can't hold that against him. And then Reed, you mentioned, man, I'm willing to just always throw the stats out the window with that dude. He won here earlier this year, has never finished outside the top 25 at Torrey Pines in any appearance. So, you know, we know he's got a magical short game. So you can't ever count Patrick Reed out of a big event. Tony Finau gets all the crap about never winning, but the guy in 20 career major championship starts has 10 top 10s. So half the time the guy's finishing in the top 10s in majors. And he's been a beast at Torrey. His course history here is amazing. And then you got Hideki, a guy that just ball strikes the heck out of the ball, and nobody's talking about him. Won the Masters. So yeah, man, I love this group. I love Will Zalatoris. I love his length. As I mentioned, I think that's going to be a huge factor this week. He's as long as pretty much any of these guys off the tee. Kind of shown his medal in major championships. We know what he did at the Masters. Know what he did last year at Wingfoot. Had a top 10 at Kiowa. So yeah, man, I think you can just load up on these guys in this range if you want to skip the top. What do you think of below Xander, Bagels? Who you locking in here?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you basically touched on everybody. I will say this about Webb Simpson, who I think is going to go totally ignored because everyone's going to be playing bombers, and Webb doesn't fit that narrative. Webb's record in majors, not just the U.S. Open, and he's won a U.S. Open in California, by the way. His record in majors, even on golf courses that don't suit him, he seems still good for a top 20 type finish. And if you're playing cash games, but you want a low-owned guy, separate yourself, I think Webb might be very interesting. Yeah, I love Hideki. I had him at the Masters, and that worked out for me. It took the sting off of the water ball on 16 by Xander made that go down a little bit easier. I know people like Patrick Reed. I like Reed too. I like Finau. Oh, again, another guy's record. You touched on it, Joe. His record in majors is outstanding. Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from. If you wanted to build with multiple options from this range and hope to get lucky, and then maybe some of the guys at the top get don't play so well. But I think that you don't want to get too cute though, because we saw at the PGA Championship, a lot of the top guys didn't come through when we had, Louis and Phil, and only Brooks was the only quote super elite. And even at the time, Brooks wasn't priced that way.
Yeah, nobody.
So maybe people were thinking the same thing, but I thought the golf course, I thought that ocean course dictated that might happen. I don't think that's going to happen this week. I think you are going to need to have a guy at the top. Those guys are scary up there. You can't fade all of them. One or two of them is going to come through. You just got to pick the right one. And then you got to try to pick one of these guys in the 9s or the 8s. That's what I think is in terms of roster construction, what type of contest you're in. But I mean, when you're talking about anybody from 8,500 and up, yeah, these are the top 20 players in the world. So yeah, they're all good, and you can make a case for all.
So. Yeah, I agree, man. And kind of my thoughts on paying up. I don't have a strong take against it or for it. I kind of let the slate dictate that. But anytime I'm paying 10K or up, it's a guy that I strongly feel like has a great chance to win the golf tournament. So, that's kind of my thoughts anytime I'm going 10K and up. So, if you're rostering a guy up here, you better believe he's got a great chance to win if you're paying up this week. But yeah, man, I agree with you. I think this range is pretty loaded. All these guys are really talented.
I agree. Like you said, it is the U.S. Open. You are seeing the top 20, 25 guys in the world here at the top. Moving on from that range, guys, sliding on down. This is where we're going to get a little bit more dicey. Say Tyrrell Hatton and down. I've got my eyes on a few guys. There's some bets in there you're going to have to take a look at, like a Paul Casey. As much as I even hate to say that name out loud, you're going to have to take a look at it. But what really interests me down, some people that I love to fade, Abe Answer, who completely screwed me over in the PGA with his 65 on Sunday in the early AM, Sunjay M. A couple names, though, that I do want to hit on here in the mid-7s. Joaquin Needham, Woodland, Kokrak. I think those guys are going to be pretty high owned, mainly Woodland just from he's going to be kind of all over the place for a GPP play, but definitely this is a turn play here. A turn fantasy golf podcast play is the Kokrak Needham combo. Joe, you start with those two, and then throw some thoughts on the rest of those guys in that area.
Yeah, man, Kokrak and Neiman. That's like it's like cake and ice cream at a birthday party, buddy. You just got to put them together. But they're at the kind of the 8K range, man. You touched on a couple vets there, and I'm actually really interested in a couple vets there. Louis Oosthuizen at 8,100. I mean, guys, are we getting to the point where we just auto play Louis in the majors? The guy just continues to do it. Has played really well this year. Hung tough at the PGA. I mean, yeah, you can argue the never winning thing, kind of like Tony Finau, but Louis' major championship record is exceptional. Same can be said for Justin Rose, former U.S. Open winner, and he's won the Farmers. So we know there's some love for Torrey there with Rose. He's been all over the board, up and down. Definitely not a guy I would want to, kind of rely on, but certainly has some upside as we saw at the Masters and the PGA where he logged top 10. So I mean, I think you can look there at those two. Corey Connors has been on my radar all year. A guy I just absolutely love to play. You can't go wrong with the ball striker, but the short game's a concern kind of in this venue with what we're looking at. And then Casey's another one of those vets that you can consider. I'll go all the way down to the mid-7s. I'm not sure what his popularity is going to be, but he's a guy that, after spending a lot of time yesterday and today, really interested in Shane Lowry. Former major winner, got that major championship pedigree. Sneaky good course history at Torrey. Has played really well in U.S. Opens. So I find myself liking Shane Lowry a little bit more than I expected. Maybe even more than a co-cracker Neiman, who might carry more ownership. Bagels, what are you thinking down there as we work our way into the sevens, man? You got any love for my guy Shane Lowry?
I've been playing Shane Lowry like crazy, especially I played him at Wingfoot last year, and I played him at the Ocean Course, and yeah, he's been playing great, and now people are starting to talk about him, and he's been good. I can't deny that he's been good, and he's might be in play for the Open Championship. But I just one of the things I looked at when I'm building for a major. I'm building a lineup for a major is I look at, how these players perform in majors. And yeah, Louis Oosthuizen does have a great record. And so does Justin Rose. And I was trying to decide between those two. And I think with Louis, he's usually much better when he's a 6% owned Louis Oosthuizen as opposed to a 13% owned. Now I said that the night before the PGA Championship, and he ended up being, finishing second. So I don't know how many times you can go back to that Louis well. I've never really trusted him. He's always been one of those guys that burns me. So I got some Louis scar tissue there. So I'm not sure about that. Yes, I like Paul Casey, of course. But you were talking about Shane Lowry, and you're talking about major pedigree and a guy that's been around a little while. I think I might go back to Adam Scott down there at 7,400. He's a major winner himself. I wanted to see something out of him at the Memorial, and I thought he was going to play well there. Now, he killed me at the PGA. His first tee shot, he hit into the water, triple bogey the first hole, and I didn't even get out of my car to get to work yet, and my tournament was over on Thursday morning. But I think that this is going to be a real comfortable spot for Adam Scott. I like the fact that he had a top 20, and he hadn't been playing it a lot of golf, and I think that might be a good play right there. So that's kind of like where I'm looking. A lot of it's going to depend on ownership. Kokrak and Neiman, I played both those guys at the Masters, and that didn't work out great for me. I like those guys on bent grass greens. I don't know how they're going to do putting on these POA greens. That's just my opinion. I'm happy to hear that they'll be highly owned. They'll leave up some ownership for the guys that I like. All right.
Yeah. I hear you on Adam Scott, man. He's kind of one of those guys. You mentioned Webb Simpson earlier, Bagels. Adam Scott's kind of one of those guys that I'd never feel bad about rostering. I mean, you always feel pretty confident when you put a Webb Simpson in there. You always feel pretty confident when you put an Adam Scott in there. You maybe don't feel that they're going to win the tournament, but you feel like, there's a great chance there's a top 25 coming. So, if Scott's ownership's going to be lower down there, certainly don't hate that as a pivot. It doesn't feel like the last few majors we did. I know the Masters sticks out with Jordan Spieth, and the PGA sticks out with Victor Hovland, but it doesn't really feel like there's a far and away very, very popular player this week. It feels like there's a lot of kind of mid-range ownership. Nobody's projected super high that I've seen. It doesn't feel like, we can obviously talk about Rahm and Xander. Those guys are kind of hot button players as are Bryson and Brooks, but I don't really think their ownership's getting out of hand like a 30% Spieth or Hovland that we've seen in the first couple of majors this year. Does that do you feel that way too, Bagels?
I'm biased, man. I see and hear everything, especially if it's Xander related. People tag me and they let me know, and people it's a nightmare. So is there somebody that's far and away like the guy that everybody's picking? No, you might not. I don't think so. I think you might be right about that, because I've seen a lot of different names. I'm somebody that usually stays away from that quote Nancy in accounting pick. And you might be into that.
There was at the Masters, I think it was a 7,700 Paul Casey, at the Masters. That was 30+%. I think that Corey Connors was 6,900 at the Masters. And it just doesn't feel like there are those kind of pockets throughout the salary scale that are going to be hugely popular, which is kind of tough in a way, because you can gain a lot of leverage by pivoting off those guys. I know you like to kind of go against the grain a little bit, so just want to get your thoughts on it, on who you thought was maybe just going to be super popular, but it just doesn't feel like that guy's out there this week.
Well, I mean, it might be a Patrick Reed at 9,000 or I don't know, Zalatoris at 86. I think it's too early in the week to. I haven't really. This is the first podcast that I've listened to, and I'm on it. So I don't know what's I don't know what everybody's doing.
Yeah,
I know who I like, and
Yeah.
I haven't heard the same name mentioned so many times where it's going to make me change where I'm going to go. So
yeah, just feels like there's a lot of like 15 to 20% guys out there. Kind of just
gotta pick the right ones.
Yeah. Yeah, who you like going on down, Bagels? You like anybody down kind of that mid 7 down to low 7s, high 6s? Who's sticking out to you down there? You got Garrett Kigo, Harris English. I feel like some people are going to get on.
How far down we going? What's the price range?
Let's go down to 7K.
I was gonna say from there on down to 7K, it gets dicey fast after 7K.
Yeah, there's only a couple of guys that I would consider under 7,000. I don't know what the buzz is on Charlie Hoffman this week. I like Matt Wallace, but I think I like Charlie Hoffman a little bit more. I think he's got a little bit more length off the tee. I think he's might be in a better mental headspace for U.S. Open. Charlie Hoffman has a great U.S. Open record. He just hasn't been in the U.S. Open in a couple of years. And he is a San Diego guy, and he's close with, Xander and Phil. And I haven't heard anybody mention Charlie Hoffman, and he was a chalky pick all through Texas, and even in going through recently some of the tournaments. And he bombed out at Memorial, and now it seems that he doesn't seem to be very popular, and I don't know why. Or maybe I'm wrong. I just haven't seen it. But
I think it was the 78 on Saturday at the Memorial that broke my heart on him.
Well, good. Then nobody should play him. Yeah. I love Charlie Hoffman if that's the case.
That's probably because I think he was probably pretty chalky that week, and that Saturday round got a lot of people though.
He's been playing great. He's back in the U.S. Open. He obviously knows the course. I think if he's low owned, I think that's a steal.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
He's been one of the most underrated iron players on the PGA.
Yeah, he's like 6th in strokes gained approach.
Yeah, he's 4th in strokes gained approach, 17th in strokes gained off the tee. I'm talking the last 24 rounds. Always grinds these majors well. We've seen him pop up several times as a first round leader, things like that. You mentioned he's got a really solid U.S. Open record and a solid Torrey record. So can definitely get behind some Charlie Hoffman, especially if he's not going to be as popular as we've been seeing him be. Matt Wallace is a guy you mentioned. I really like. Bagels. Got enough length off the tee. We know that he can grind on tough courses. And Rahm Palmer, not great form. Not talking about a guy that can win, but if we're looking at a guy with upside, very good record at Torrey. And we know he's just one of those guys, really volatile, but he's one of those guys that can pop up for a random, T6 at 7,100. Who you liking down there, Andrew? Anybody you're all in on?
I mean, obviously, I'm going to always mention if it's a difficult golf course, plus recent form's been pretty decent. Stuart Sink. He's a grinder, puts it good, hits it straight. I don't think he has any win equity. Same thing with Palmer. Palmer, great course history at Torrey for whatever reason. And actual total driving is pretty good, even though he doesn't hit the ball far. Name that I do want to throw out there that might catch some people and people might think of, but he needs to be in full-blown fade mode, and that's Carlos Ortiz. I think he's got a great future ahead of him. But his total driving numbers are really, really bad, even though he played pretty good at Torrey in February. But getting down past 7K or really past, obviously I do like Hoffman's game. That's why I liked him at Memorial. I think you have some players that overlap in Memorial and here. A name that I hate to say a lot because every time I ever look at him, he plays awful, and every time I don't, he finishes top 3. That's Charles Schwartzel. Never figure that guy out. Never figure him out. Past that, dicey quick. I don't really have anybody that would be a hard lean to other than, maybe a Ches Reavie plays hard golf courses pretty decently. 0 win equity there. Johnny Vegas hits the ball far and straight. like him. After that, guys, I don't have much to say. Even though there's a bunch of vets down here, I don't have much to say about many players. I will have to throw in first professional tournament debut out of Knoxville, Tennessee. David Davis Shore is playing out of Holston Hills Country Club. Turned pro a couple weeks ago, qualified for the U.S. Open in Atlanta. So after that, the SIG guy off the Corn Ferry Tour that won in Knoxville, I think he might be he surpassed, I think, Zalatoris as the points leader, or he's second or third. Grayson SIG, he's got some game. Don't know if it's U.S. Open ability or not. Other than that, I don't have much to say, guys. Like I said, maybe a Jimmy Walker, could throw him in a little bit. Brandon Steele a little bit. Other than that, you better get your guns in there by 7,100 is all I can say.
Well, you touched on one name there. I think Brendan Steele might be playable. He had that success in the Silverado and the Safeway Open out there in California. So the length is not going to bother him. I think he might be playable. Just real fast, you mentioned Charles that you were worried about. I like another South African up there. I think Brendan Grace might be a play. Just throwing that out there. If you're going to go the South African route,
great driver of the golf ball. Driver of the golf ball.
I think that might be a good play. And but under 7,000, Rafa Cabrera. I know that he might have hurt some people last week, but he had just qualified for the U.S. Open, and maybe his heart wasn't into the Palmetto Championship the week before Torrey, and he just wanted to get out there. If it's going to require a lot of long irons, that's kind of his game. RCB, I famously played well at Bay Hill, which is a long golf course, so I'm not worried about that. And I took a look at what's his name, Bernd Wiesberger, a little bit as a possible flyer option, but yeah, there's not a lot under 7,000 that I love, which makes it hard to stack a lot of guys up at the top, and it might force you to go more balanced. I'm not somebody that plays a whole lot of lineups, so I don't like to take those chances unless there's somebody under 7,000 that I really like. But so I'm probably not going to be down here. I like enough guys in the sevens that I'll be able to build that way. So that's my thoughts on that. You're up, Joe.
Yeah, man. I'll talk about a couple more South Africans, guys. Garrett Kigo, a kid that won last week, won 3 times on the Euro Tour over the past year. I know it's a big ask to roll out to the U.S. Open at Torrey Pines South, 22 years old, and be expected to play well, especially coming off a win. But man, I mean, what's the kid got to do? He's extremely talented, very long off the tee. So at 7,200, I'm willing to give him a look in GPP. He's not going to build my lineup around him, but definitely a real talent. Then my guy Wilco Nienaber. 6,900. The guy's longer than Bryson DeChambeau. Hits 400-yard drives. We're looking for length this week. He's rough around the edges. Not usually a great fit for the U.S. Open, but power's a great equalizer. So he's a guy we might want to look at, just have a little fun with in GPPs or something. There at 6,900. I'm gonna say his name again, Wilco Nienaber, just because I like to say it. I think you mentioned him earlier, Bagels, Guido Migliacci, one of the great Italian names you'll ever hear. Maybe the most Italian name ever. He's a talented young guy playing on the Euro Tour, but I'm with you guys. As you get down below the sevens, you're either looking for vets or kind of these unproven guys that have qualified, guys that are playing on the KFT Tour. EVR sticks out a little bit down there at 6,700, even though I think he's broken a lot of hearts across the PGA DFS industry. But he has played well in some U.S. Opens. So, you give a look to EVR. Justin Suh's a talented player. Andrew mentioned Grayson SIG, a guy that I think we're really going to be seeing a lot of on the PGA Tour in the coming years. He's a really, really talented kid out of the University of Georgia. And I don't think this tournament is, too big for him. There at 6,600, I don't mind grabbing some exposure to Grayson SIGs. Dylan Wu's another player. He's a California kid. Really good on the KFT Tour. So as you're going down through there, I'm with you guys. Won't be dipping down here much, but there's certainly some talent when we get down into these guys. But it all feels like talent you're really gambling on.
All right. So Higo, Wilco, and Guido.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's my guys, man. That's my guys.
It sounds like a Scorsese movie, don't it?
yeah, what are we doing here? What is going on?
Well, I'm going to say one more thing about the Knoxville kid, Davis Shore. 4 years ago, he was a freshman at Alabama, carried Alabama through the finals and the match play, almost led them to a national championship as a freshman at the University of Alabama against, I think it was Oklahoma State. Battled injuries over the last few years. Said turned pro a few weeks ago, qualified as a medalist in Atlanta. He's going to be around. If he can get this injury thing, he's going to be around for a long time. Kid's got a lot of game. Probably he was ranked number 2 junior in the world when he signed at Alabama. And so he's got a lot of talent, a lot of, just 22 years old, 21 years old. Not saying he's going to be there this week, but just watch out for that name, Davis Shore, University of Alabama graduate. There you go. Closing out. I know Nagels he's got all kinds of things he's got to hit on before he hits the road. So we got to hit out with our usual ending, and that is the what's your dart and where's your heart at this week? Joe, let's let Nagels go first since he's our guest. First off, where's your heart at, and what kind of dart you throwing at the board?
Well, you guys know where my heart is at. I mean, let's not pull any punches. My heart is Xander Schauffele. That is my heart. Unless I got the definitions of what a heart play is or what a dart play is. Are there any parameters I need to know about here?
No parameters.
All right. So yeah, I mean, Xander is the total heart play for me. I'm hoping and praying and wishing, and this is the definition of a heart play. Dart. Are there rules for a dart?
Dart's like you got one bullet in the chamber and you're firing it on that $1 chip you found in the nightstand when you wake up to go home on Sunday morning from the casino. Where's the dart at?
Oh, well then it's got to be on Brooks. I think Brooks is probably going to win. If life on the line, I had to pick the winner. That would be my last dollar. I would probably put it on Brooks, and I'll probably lose, but that's who I would pick. I like Brooksy.
Joe, where you at, buddy?
Man, the darts, if we're talking darts down the board, kind of thins out for me, man. So I'm going to go dart. I'm going to take Joaquin Neiman. Heard a lot of feelings at Memorial. 7,500. I love the price. I'm going Neiman as my dart. My heart, I got to go with my boy V Hova. Victor Hovland. I'm taking him at 9,200. I think he's going to make a big leap forward in major championships this week. I love him on this golf course. I kind of like the fact that everybody was on him at the PGA. I don't feel like that steam's there this week. So going Victor Hovland, man.
Okay. Dart play for me, shooting deep down from way down in 3-point land. That's going to shock the nation. Justin Rose, 8K. I feel like he's not going to be highly owned because Paul Casey's going to be around him. Number one. Number two, his game's just gone. Let's be honest. So he's surrounded by Oosthuizen and Paul Casey, who is their ownership hoarders, in major championship pass. So that's why I like Justin Rose. If I'm going straight from the heart, guys, I mean, come on. I know that I said I was not going to play a guy till we got down to Colin Morikawa. And I know there's a lot of talent, a lot of bullets has been said right above him, right? But the guy's played in 49 PGA events. He's got 16 top 10s and 4 victories. I mean, we can make a statement that he's a stud. He's one of we know he's one of the premier future players of the tour. He's just not to be something to be joking around with Colin Morikawa. Guy's got serious game. Maybe the length's a little bit of an issue, but golly, he just won at Hardin Park, which is 7,600 yards. So if he can putt it all, I think it's a similar storyline with John Rahm, honestly, with the course set up with Memorial. So that's it. Colin Morikawa, Justin Rose for me. Yeah, Brooksy and the Xander Schauffele Lee for Nagels. Joe's throwing out. Who'd you throw out again, Joe?
I got Wilco, Guido, and Higo and Lanto.
Oh, goodness. Well, Guys, I appreciate Nagels. Thank you so much for coming on. I know we was trying to get you on the Masters, and my work schedule messed that up. So we'll hope to have you on again in the future.
I appreciate you having me, man. Thank you very much, Joe. It's great to talk to you. Andrew, great to talk to you.
Man.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it
so much. Have a great week, man.
Yeah, you too. Good luck.
Have a great week traveling. Be safe. Have a good time. Don't drink too many Pacificos and eat too much Mexican food, buddy. And if you get on that hang glider, watch out for the rattlesnakes. We saw a couple out there. So, man, been great. Thank you, Rotoballer.com, for everything you do. And this is the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast.
I'd give it one good try. That was my first big mistake. I've already hit 3 in the lake. It's gone.